Hey, St. Andrew's Youth Ministry. Like I mentioned a few days ago in our last daily devotional that I led us through, uh, as a community on our Wednesday night gatherings, on our Sunday night gatherings, we are walking through practicing the way of Jesus, a conversation on how to practically grow closer to Jesus in this season and practicing the way of Jesus. Some of the ways that we practice this way of Jesus, we mention are tangible ways we go out and serve others and ways we live like Jesus in the world. Other ways we practice the way of Jesus are through exercises and practices that grow us closer into God's presence and grow us closer to Jesus. We talked about on Monday the idea of thankfulness. Not thankfulness, celebration. My bad, guys. Celebration, which is a part of thankfulness. We talked about the spiritual discipline and the spiritual practice of celebration. How do you celebrate well? And I hope that sometime this week you have found a way to celebrate well in the midst of this pandemic. Today, in case you haven't been a part of our Wednesday night and Sunday night gatherings, I want to talk to you about journaling. Now, stay with me because I know some of you may hear the word journal and tune out automatically. Maybe some of you already are keeping some sort of journal, and that is fantastic. I just want to let you know, dudes, if you're here and you're hearing the word journal and you're tuning out, it's okay. My father, who is 65 plus, has been keeping a journal for the last 30 years. And he promises me that it is earmarked and ready for me the moment he passes away, that he's going to send his journal to me so I can read all the crazy Welch family thoughts he's had for the last 30 plus years. Journaling is okay, but I use the story of my father in the journal because I want to normalize journaling. Journaling doesn't have to be anything crazy. See, journaling is just a tool for reflecting on God's presence, guidance, and nurturing in daily comings and goings. Journals can be kept regularly or during times of transition. So my father's been pretty well at keeping a regular journal. I myself, on the other hand, keep one. It's regular, but I don't write every day in it. I write a lot when there's a lot of stuff in life going on, when we're going through transitions, when life is hard, when there's things to celebrate. That's how I use the practice of journaling on my own. I am a verbal processor, so writing it out helps. It helps me figure out what God is doing inside of me. See, some verses that kind of go along with this are Psalm 16:7. I bless the Lord who gives me counsel. In the night also my heart instructs me. Psalm 25:4 says, make me to know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths. Habakkuk 2:1 says, I will take my stand at my watchpost and station myself on the tower and look out to see what he will say to me and what I will answer concerning my complaint. Joshua 1:8 says, the book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. Lastly, Psalm 118:18 says, the Lord has disciplined me severely, but he has not given me over to death. These are all just verses that kind of talk about the idea that we need to be a people who are able to think through and process what God is up to in our lives. And that is where the spiritual practice and the spiritual discipline of journaling comes in handy. Right now I'm on my patio. My deck is one of the places where I will grab my journal. It's not by me right now, but I'll grab my journal and I'll go out and just write what God is up to in my soul. Now, a lot of the stuff that I write in my journal, because of my job, because of what I get to do, pouring into all you students and families and leaders, will wind up making it out for people, out of the journal, for people to see and listen to in real life. Because I believe that what God is teaching me and how God is working in me, he has to work in me first before I can walk somebody else through something. And that may not be the case for all of you in the same way it is for me, but I believe that God is doing something in your life, especially in this season, that he wants you to remember, that he wants you to process through and remember, and it might be something that somebody else needs to hear and needs to see. So, journaling. Practically, what does it look like? It's keeping a written record of God's ways in your life, like I'm talking about. See, journals can include a lot of things. It's not just writing. Maybe you're thinking you're not a good writer. I know one of the ways my wife journals is she just writes down words. She just writes down words. She doesn't write full thoughts. I'm someone who writes out full, complete thoughts. Like if you were to look at my journal, you'd think I'm writing a book because I'm writing complete thoughts and sentences. But you don't have to even do that. See, journals can include a collection of clippings, drawings, collages, articles, poems, quote, etc. Maybe, I know a newspaper isn't a thing anymore, but maybe there's something that has happened during this pandemic, during this quarantine, that you want to take and remember. Maybe it's a piece of paper, it's something you can print out on a computer, like a picture, and put in there. Take that and put it in your journal so you have it and write about it. Write what stands out to you in this, and one day, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, when you have a 10-year-old kid and they're asking you questions about the coronavirus and the pandemic and the quarantine, you'll have the ability to show them what life was like in the here and the now, and what you learned about God and yourself in this season. See, you can journal daily or weekly, like I've talked about, or during significant times and events. You can make journals and scrapbooks for, like I was mentioning, for people in the future, for yourself or even your children one day. In a way, a journal deep down is a way of prayer and communicating with God. It's a way of recording prayers, prayer requests, and even those ways those prayer requests have been answered by God in this season. So that's my hope. As we go forward in this, I want us to practice the way of Jesus in this season. I want us to grow closer to Jesus in this season, in this quarantine, in this pandemic. And I believe if we can learn to be people who celebrate well, and if we can learn to be people who process what God is up to in our midst, in the here and now, God will do mighty and powerful things because we will have the eyes to see God on the move. And journaling is just one of those ways of processing how God is moving in your life. So I challenge you to take the season, take the time, and communicate with God and journal. If you have any questions about it, drop us a DM. I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about it. In the meantime, students and family, grace and peace. Happy weekend.